Okay, guys, welcome back to another edition of Livewire. I am your host, Jerod Moore, and Livewire is a program where we take your questions from the chat. So if you guys have a question for or about the topic that we're talking about today, just pop it into the chat. Today we're going to be talking about the Wilmington premiere of Loksi Shaali. You may have seen, and there is a link in the description of this video to our prior Livewires about this topic. And I would normally introduce everybody right now, but I'm going to let Dr. Kunkel do that because I don't want to mess anybody's name up or forget anybody. But thanks so much, you guys, for joining us today. We got a packed house.
He's Jay, Jerod, he's Jay, Mvskoke, Kirsten C. Kunkel, Joho Jeff Kados. Hi, everybody. I'm Kirsten C. Kunkel. I have been on Livewire before, so you may have seen us. You may have seen about Loksi Shaali before, also known as Shell Shaker in the Chickasaw language. This is our third production that we put together of this, and we have a great group of people here today. I'm also artistic director and co-founder of Wilmington Concert Opera, which is producing this in conjunction with the Opera America Conference. So it's a really big deal for us. It's a really big deal for all of us here, and we'll tell you more about it. So I'm Mvskoke. Kate Morton up in the corner, if you have the same view I do, she is our Loksi. She's the main character. She is the turtle. She is also Cherokee. We have Marissa Robinson. She's my co-founder and executive director of Wilmington Concert Opera. So she's doing a lot of the behind the scenes work to make sure that this production happens. Jerod Tate, he is Chickasaw. He is a composer, librettist for this amazing work, and he will tell you all about it, I'm sure, in wonderful, wonderful terms. Krista Shimich is our Loksi cover. That means an understudy, and she's going to be joining us for the first time for our Loksi Shaali experience. Mark Billy, my good friend and Choctaw citizen, he is coming back to play the role of Inky, the father, but also playing Okina for the first time, I believe, in a production. So that's really exciting. And Sage DePalma is Cherokee, and she is joining both Wilmington Concert Opera and Loksi Shaali for the first time as Isi the deer, one of the animal teachers. And I think we may be joined as well by Tien Huinin, who is our conductor.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. So I guess to start off with, we've talked about it before, but Mr. Tate, could you just tell us what is the opera about and kind of like what's the genesis for it?
Oh, sure, no problem. Chakma Hachin Chakmataha Tak, Chickasaw no Okano so Holshifo, Jerod Impichchaachaaha Tate, Chickasaw Saya, Chickasaw Inky Saya. Impichchaachaaha Choka Michashaw Iksai, Town Shalolili, Talo Ikbili, Hashlaka Sayopa, Chukmashki, Yakoke. Hi, everyone. My name is Jerod Impichchaachaaha Tate. I'm a citizen of the Chickasaw Nation here in Oklahoma, and I'm a professional classical symphonic composer. And I composed this opera entitled Loksi Shaali, which is the Chickasaw phrase for shell shakers. And as and many of you know, in shell shaking culture, the turtle rattles are very, very important to Muskogean or Southeastern American Indians as our primary percussion that are carried and worn by the women during shell shaking, during stomp dances. And there are different stories, of course, origin stories for different aspects of our culture. And we got origin stories for the creation of the earth, for the creation of fire, for men and women, that kind of thing. And so we also have a creation story for the origin of the shell shakers. And so that's what Loksi Shaali is about. And I love it because it's truly like an archetypical hero story, very much like we see in movies and like in Greek mythology. And so in this version of the story, Loksi is a young Chickasaw girl who is really trying to find her place within the tribe. And it is also at a time in which the Choctaw and Chickasaw people have just arrived across from the Mississippi River during our Great Migration thousands of years ago. And so things are kind of in disarray. And so everybody's like going, and in the middle of all this, she has a vision, she has a dream that she's trying to tell everybody about, because what's happening, we don't realize this yet, is that the forest is talking to her. and designating her as the person who's going to go out and learn the new ways for the tribe. And so she's in all this melee, and she's trying to talk to her parents, and her parents are, her mother and grandmother and father are doing the best they can to, just say, hey, you're cool. And she's having a problem with her name, Loksi. And she was named after a turtle because of turtles are very important, very wise, and they're very revered within our culture. And she's not feeling that way. Typical teen. Nobody likes their name. Nobody likes how they look, what they're wearing. I mean, it's just a really, really common story throughout humanity. So she's going through all this, and she's very defiant about this. So finally, her grandmother, who is Kirsten, says, "You need to speak to the river, and gain wisdom from the river." And so Marcus is performing Okina, the river part, and the river says, "You are to leave your people now, and you're going to go to the forest for 4 years." And that's it. That's all she's got, and that ends the act 1. And so in act 2, she is out in the forest. Doing what she's told, but nothing's happening. And it's out of the blue, she trips over something, and it happens to be this very, very old turtle. And so she's looking at it, she's like, who are you? And they're like kind of confused. And so she starts to make fun of the turtle. She's like, you're old and slow and all this kind of stuff. And so then she realizes that she is making fun of his name as much as her name was being made fun of by other kids in the first act. And so she has this epiphany, and it's her first growth into being an adult and awareness. It's a really important moment. And the turtle also says, you know what? I know who you are. It was told to me that you were going to come and that I was to teach you the ways of the forest. And so he introduces her to the animal teachers, and we have animal teacher solos in the second act. And so she's now out in the forest, and she's getting to know the ways and the animals, and she's having a great time. And so in the meantime, the tribe is coming together, and Hiloha, who is the main male character, who is secretly in love with her, is actually growing into being a spiritual leader of the tribe. And there's a prayer that they all know she's gone, but he has also been told she's coming back with important information. So he's keeping everybody just kind of at bay, or just consoled that she's going to return. And so then what happens is eventually, her old turtle friend, it's time for him to die, and they have a routine in which they go to bed every night, and she sings to him, and he tells her stories, and it's really, really a beloved relationship. But she has a dream that he is passing on, and it turns out it's real. And the grandmother turtle, who is Kirsten again, actually comes and says, it's time for you to come to your ancestors. And then that's when she hands Loksi the turtle shells and says, this is your gift. You now know the ways of the forest, and now you're taking the shell shakers back to complete the stomp dance singing. And so that's her time to go home. And so she goes home, and everybody's waiting for her, and Hiloha is leading the stomp dancing, but he's waiting for her, and she comes in and she brings the shells to everybody, and that closes the finale with a stomp dance at the finale of the opera.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like it because it's a joyous and triumphant ending.
Yeah,
and not a lot of operas do that. The Firebird does that. The ballet does it, which is just fantastic, and so, because it's a triumphant ending in a forest. But I do love all these universal themes. I mean, everybody goes to the forest to find themselves and their purpose. It's just so common. It's really, really great. And I love being able to bring an American Indian opera that has it's like the same seat at the table with a lot of legends from all over the world that have very similar messages. And I just really, really enjoy bringing that to people.
Yeah. And then also the component that this is in the Chickasaw language.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes. The entire opera is sung in the Chickasaw language. And I'm so fortunate to have a really great partnership with Lokosh, Josh Hinson, who is the director of our language division of the Chickasaw Nation. And he has been translating my work for years. And so he is the translator and interpreter. It's not just direct translation. I mean, he's putting it into how Chickasaw would be spoken. And then I reverse engineered the English text so it fit the Chickasaw more. So that's what you'll see on the subtitles. So we've had a great partnership. But actually, one thing that's really cool is I just completed a work in which he created the libretto and the poetry organically in Chickasaw. And that was a first for us. And so we finally kind of realized a dream come true that
Awesome.
that's the correct order in which it should happen now. And so he's just awesome. He is just the best. And he's just really cool through this whole process.
I think we talked about that too in our previous interviews. And we talk a little bit more in detail with Lokosh in one of our prior interviews on Livewire about Loksi Shaali. You could check that out. It's in the description. But I wanted to ask you guys, with the language and all of the archetypal content within this opera, we've gone through, this will be the third premiere, right? Like there was the OKC, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's the OKC premiere, there was a West Coast or East Coast premiere, and then this one in Wilmington. So what?
No, in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, sorry. So what has the response been like so far? Because you guys have had some runs already and heard from audiences and maybe critics. What has the response been like to the opera?
Caitlin, would you mind chiming in on this, especially because he was talking about language, and you've just recently coached with Lokosh, and she's really close to Josh as well.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really historic opera because it's entirely in the Chickasaw language, and it's the first opera to be performed entirely in an American Indian language. And so, first of all, to have that in the opera world is so incredible and historic, and it's the first of its kind, which is it's an honor for all of us to be a part of that. Whenever we performed it in Oklahoma City, it was incredible. I mean, I'm from Oklahoma. I'm an Oklahoman. I'm Cherokee. I grew up. I'm from Stillwell, but I live in Tahlequah now. And so to get to premiere that in Oklahoma was just incredible. And we had elders there, and we had people from so many tribes in the state of Oklahoma there to be a part of that, premiere. So it's not only for all Native tribes to have this be the first opera entirely in the Chickasaw language. It's also, it just was incredible. Just an incredible experience.
Absolutely.
And, whenever I approach any opera, whether it be like in Italian or German or any other language that isn't my first language, I always go to the language first, right? Because I understand that anytime I'm performing, my entire focus is to tell a story, right? I grew up around storytellers. And so that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I decided to be that through music. So whenever I approach anything that's not my first language, I always go to the language first. I know a lot of times people go to the music first, but the language informs the music. And the language and story is how I'm going to approach what I do with the music and with my voice. And so because of that, I work on the language a lot. I had a couple coachings with Lokosh. Love him. He's great. So
yeah. Well, and with Chickasaw in particular too, we kind of spoke about it in a previous interview that the rhythms of it are going to inform on how you sing, just like you mentioned. With this production, I was going through the materials for it, and it was saying that the arrangement has been reduced or reorganized. Like, could you talk a little bit about that, Mr. Tate? Like, what's different from this performance from previous performances?
Yeah, we're doing something that's been done historically quite a bit with different pieces. Is oftentimes a composer will need to create a smaller orchestration just for logistics, because we don't have, like, this was originally with an over 100-piece orchestra, and so we don't have the space for that. So I'm just really fortunate to have I've arranged my own music for a smaller ensemble. So this will be performed with a string quartet, piano, a solo flute, and one percussionist. And so this is really, really nice because this actually creates a more capability for smaller companies to perform this with smaller ensembles. So the string quartet can be done with a full string orchestra if it needs to be, which is really, really nice. But there's just a lot of flexibility to this that will occur from this iteration of it. And so this has been a real opportunity for all of us. And so now the singers get to perform it yet in another circumstance, which is more growth for them. That's really cool if you can perform with different size ensembles. So now you can play it with either piano, full orchestra, or a chamber group. And that's really, really nice. So that's what we're doing. So, it's really funny because necessity is the mother of invention. This is all because we needed to do this. So now we're all adjusting artistically, and we all grow from it. It's a really great opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, and speaking of that too, we should mention Marissa and Krista. This is going to premiere at the Wilmington Opera. Could you guys tell us a little bit about this premiere and the space, and then what tickets are going to cost and that type of information? What was it like to bring this, to set this up?
Marissa, why don't you handle all the logistics?
I got the logistics. So let me start at the very beginning. So Wilmington Concert Opera is super excited to bring this. It is a big work for us, and obviously Opera Conference is an incredible opportunity. We are Delaware's second professional opera company, and one of our chief challenges has always been just visibility. The quality of the work is astonishing. And so we're so excited to get it out in front of the national crowd at Opera Conference. One of the things that's very special about Wilmington Concert Opera is that we are always ticketless, pay what you will. There are tickets being sold through Opera Conference or Opera Conference attendees. They are at our recommended donation of $20. Space is held at the Thursday night Opera Conference performance for other audience to attend at that pay what you will rate. It is our mission to bring opera to everybody, so it is important to make sure that space is available for everybody at both performances. There is also a Saturday afternoon matinee, which is not attached to the Opera Conference. People should feel free to come to whichever suits them. Both are going to be stellar with the same cast. What else do I need to tell you?
Is that going to be first come first serve? Since it's ticketless, is it like if you want to get a seat for sure, you need to show up early?
I hope that'd be great. I would love that. Certainly for Thursday night, where I know a fair number of tickets will have been advance sold, and those seats must be given to the people who have paid for tickets for them. The performances are at the Episcopal Church of St. Andrew and Matthew in downtown Wilmington on Shipley Street. It is not an enormous space. I think seating capacity is 250, and that is part of the reason that we had to generate this wonderful and very useful chamber arrangement of it. Is there if we put a 100-piece orchestra in there, we would have no pews left. Mm-hmm. They would not even fit up in the altar area. We would have to fill all the pews with instruments. It is an intimate space. It's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful acoustic. And there's not a bad seat in the house, neither for visibility nor for acoustics. I think it's going to be a wonderful location. But yes, if you want to see it, especially on Thursday, frankly, if you want to see it on Thursday night, you should come early because there's advanced ticket pre-sales. If you want to come on Saturday, the Wilmington Grand Prix is in town and Market Street will be closed for the bicyclists. So if you want to come on Saturday, you should plan to come early just because finding parking is going to be fairly challenging.
Absolutely.
But hopefully capacity seating wise should be looser on Saturday if you are coming not for the conference.
Now we had spoke, and I'm talking about me and Kirsten had been talking about trying to get out for me to record this or to stream this. But because of the special election that's going to happen at the end of May, I'm not going to be able to do that. But is there going to, this is a standard question I normally ask, is there going to be any live streaming of this or recording? Is there going to be any way that people can get access to this online if they can't attend the performance?
We'll do an archival recording. It'll be available on our YouTube page for Wilmington Concert Opera. So.
Awesome.
Also, if anyone wants more information, wants to come, you didn't catch everything that Marissa said, you can go to our website at wilmingtonconcertopera.com, and we have a page devoted to Loksi Shaali as well.
Yep, and there's a link to that in the description of this video. If you guys want to go click that link, you can go straight to that page. Krista, you're new at the opera, right? Are you with the Wilmington Opera? She's having trouble with her microphone. I don't know if we've lost her. She's froze up. Well,
maybe come back to her, Jerod.
Yeah, we'll come back to her. Let's see. What have we not covered on this performance? So with the Wilmington Opera...
We should talk about costume design as well.
Yes, go for it.
So this is something that's really nice, is that we have original costumes that were designed by Margaret Wheeler, who is our Chickasaw textile artist. And they were built by Jerrica Huckey, and she is Cherokee, and she works at Lyric Opera in Chicago. And so anyway, so we got more of that going on, which is really, really cool. And so the costumes are really beautiful. And
You
so
know
and
what?
actually, you can see there's on all the social medias that's been posted. There's a whole bunch of pictures of the original performance where everybody's in costume. So they will be in costume as well for this performance.
Is there going to be any changes? Because I know when we talked about the performance previously, there were in the performance there wasn't going to be there weren't any sets. Is there going to be any additions on the costuming or setting side this time?
The big change is that it goes from almost 3 hours to 70 minutes. That's our big change. So it is chamber, meaning smaller in pretty much every way.
Okay.
The chorus is significantly smaller. It will be some parts will be sung by our animal teachers. We will have obviously the smaller orchestra, but then also the smaller amount of time. It will still be concert version, so it is not staged. It'll be exactly as we have done in the past otherwise. Yes.
Awesome. Is there anything about the performance that and this goes out to everybody, is there anything about it that we haven't talked about that you think is important to get in at this point? Because we're getting close we're at 20 minutes. We normally wrap before 30 minutes. Marissa, you got your hand up.
I'd just like to, Jerod did such a great job of talking about, the narrative as a hero story, but I have to say, I keep telling people it's a fairy tale, and those two kind of, the sort of legendary stories kind of, which is it sort of overlaps, but at this chamber length, one of the things about Wilmington concert operas, we're very family friendly, and that 70-minute runtime means if you have a child that you think should see an opera, this is a very palatable size of an opera to bring them to, with a story that is very digestible for children. It's a fabulous time to bring your kids to see something new.
Yeah, and I would also add to that too, as Kirsten mentioned, the Wilmington Opera has a YouTube page. You can go to their YouTube page and check it out, and if they upload something, the more compact nature of it will be easier for kids and family members to view that can't sit through the whole 3 hours. So,
Jerod, while we still have a little time, I'd love if you could check in with Mark and Sage and Krista just a little bit, since they have the time to be here. I'd love for them to just talk a little bit about their experience with this piece.
Yeah, Mr. Billy, if you would like to tell us about your experience playing the father in the two previous premieres, and maybe this is a question I could ask you: is have your previous performances, are they going to inform on this one? How's your approach changed over time? And I'm going to just be messing with the windows here because for some reason I can't see you guys. I can hear you, but go ahead.
Sure. Halitos,
Here we go.
Mark Chatasia, Findlay, Oklahoma, Amatili. Yeah, so it's this whole experience has been something that I never really imagined in my lifetime. As a trained opera singer, you study Italian, French, German, maybe Russian and English and Latin, but you don't usually study your indigenous languages. Even Spanish is sort of like, you don't really study that much. So getting to delve into a score that has Chickasaw, which is very close to my language, Choctaw, was a real pleasure, and it happened really fast, actually. Like it wasn't so much of a I don't recognize these sounds, you know what I mean? Like it's something that I had already had in my ear from a very young age. Let's see, so performing it 3 times. I mean, anytime you get to reprise a role, it's really like it's a gift, and you get to explore other avenues of the role itself. And I also am going to get to sing another role in it as well. So it's been a really enriching experience in my life, and I think something that that'll be like a highlight of my career.
Awesome, great. Is there anything about the process though that has refined for you from the earlier performances? Have you changed anything about your characterizations or anything for the opera?
You get deeper into it, and you kind of things when you first perform a role, it's a little bit stressful. It's like, okay, we want to get everything exactly right, and we want to do a good job of that. But then once you've done it a couple of times, you're like, okay, this is, I can just kind of like relax into it and put a little more artistry into it and have more fun with it, really. So like I said, the more times you get to perform a role, it's always a gift, and you do get to find, deeper and more meaningful things in each iteration.
Awesome.
That's Mark. A really good point. I really appreciate you pointing that out, because premieres are awesome, but there is a lot of weight on everybody. Like, everybody's premiering, and so everybody's in the same boat. The orchestra and the chorus as well, the conductor, is everybody. And so, this is a third performance, and that's very, very rare. And what a blessing to be able to have my own friends come and reprise their own roles and then double up on a role, because he's already heard it. He's heard Okina, and that's really great. He's just sliding right in. So thank you, Mark. I'm really glad you're doubling up on this. It's great. And so, this is now, like, people are comfortable with it. And this is really a treat to be able to perform it like this.
Absolutely.
I will say briefly, sorry to interject, but Jerod's music's hard to sing. It's hard. It's difficult. We have to sit with it a while. And doing a premiere is tricky, because not only is there not a pre-existing recording, but you're also delving into new language, new music, interacting with the orchestra, which for our premiere was huge for the first time in a very short period of time. This is my third time singing this role, and it's just now starting to feel like I might have a little bit of control over it. So it's very, very exciting, I think, for all of us who are coming back to these roles to do it again in a different way. And so I think that's worth noting, because it's a fluid art form. It's never static. And it's very exciting to be part of that. But sorry, please keep going.
Oh no, that's kind of like what I was getting at, is that the more times it's performed, the more of a refinement that's going to happen, and especially if you have to change composition of anything for a space, it's going to hone it down a little bit, and also open up avenues for you to explore more creative space because of certain limitations and things. And I wanted to just touch on that, just because for the audience to say, hey, I know we did a live wire on the 2 previous premieres, and we're doing one on this one, but there is more. It's going to change over time, and then even when you go to, like, when the video performance gets posted or audio gets recorded, any of those things, that it gets changed a little bit every time. And it's interesting to see those changes over time to things. That's all the great operas, like over time, even over just temporal time, they change and get refined and things. So it's very interesting. And this is, as we mentioned earlier, a historic piece. This is literally history being created as we've been here. As I normally do about this time, because we're at 27 minutes, I wanted to thank you guys for being on the program and coming back on the program again, and encourage you to keep up the good work and keep forging this path, because you guys are at the spear point of this particular cultural milieu or movement, or however you would put it. And it's great to see natives of all tribes going into areas that is uncharted territory, and breaking that particular ground. So Mado to you guys for doing that.
Mado, Jerod.
So, I wanted to let you guys know before we sign out, next week on Monday at 6 p.m., we're going to have another live wire, and we're going to be visiting with the guys from Decolonized Decatur. You guys might have seen them in our live wire we did, I think, a couple of years ago. They're going to be doing a installation with some indigenous artists, and we're also going to talk a little bit about an issue with some green space on Beacon Hill that is historically tied to the Creek Nation that is under threat of being developed. So we're going to talk about those 2 topics. And so if you're interested, tune in. That's the 13th at 6 p.m. And I'll have a link up for it on that Monday. And with that being said, Mado, everybody, and Mado to you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you again next time. Mado Hadum. Sorry, go ahead. So, Chihichat, please.